Dress. That's the nothing personal word of the day for Wednesday, August 27, 2025. If you're not with me, that's okay, because I'm going to spend 30 seconds on the song that talks about anticipation. It's a Taylor Swift song. Stay with me, Swifties. Congratulations, Travis and Taylor. I am dedicating this amount of time to the engagement of Travis and Taylor. And done. The reason why we chose dress as the word of the day is that if you know it's about anticipation and then you're using your head trying to guess our word of the day because you're playing the game, that if you're on the live chat, 7 a.m. Eastern, Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, and you guess the word of the day, then guess what? You win. If you're the first to guess it, of course, in the chat. And Coca declares you the winner. Then you get a piece of merchandise from DavidSamsonPodcast.com. And we follow up. We send it. The reason why we were looking for an anticipation song that mixed with Taylor Swift is that yesterday was a huge day. A day that baseball's trying to own. August 26th every year, or at least this year. The thought was, let's do our schedule release and let's make it like the NFL or the NBA, but mostly the NFL, where everyone is waiting on pins and needles. There's pregame, there's postgame, there's analysis, there's strength of schedule, there's who's traveling when, where, what, how. Let it all start. And baseball said, I know what I want to do on August 26th. I want to be Farrah Fawcett. They didn't. Who sets out to be Farrah Fawcett now? Farrah Fawcett, Charlie's Angels, Farrah Fawcett. You know her. If you don't know the red poster, then you're 46% of our audience. But believe me, Google it. And why do I say Farrah Fawcett? Because the day she died, sadly, prematurely, would have been on the cover of People magazine, and then boom, same day, hours later, Michael Jackson dies. That's it. Farrah's off magazine. No one talks about it. Baseball got fauceted. That is the new verb that we use when something happens that's supposed to gain a lot of attention, and then all of a sudden, boom, something happens, and that's the end of it. Obviously, the boom tick came from Taylor and Travis. But the MLB schedule release, all these teams, Coca, I do not have the wherewithal. We were so busy during the season and we're doing marketing and sales, whether it worked or not, we can debate. You're maneuvering your roster, whether it worked or not, we can debate. But there's stuff going on. The schedule release has become this thing where not only is it huge in the NFL, but each team has to come up with these amazingly creative videos to announce the post. And then we rank the videos like we're reviewing them like it's the Oscars. MLB thought, this is a good idea. Let's maybe have the teams do something. And the best the Guardians and Marlins came up with was something Swift related. Some videos were out there, but it's really not a thing. The way the MLB schedule works is that the president of the team and the head of stadium operations are someone you assign. In my case, I did the ballpark operations guy and the traveling secretary. You get a draft schedule all the way back in May, which is crazy if you think about it. You're just starting your season. You're a month and a half in. You're not eliminated unless you're the Rockies. And you're feeling like, hey, good things, or the White Sox, good things are happening. And then you get an email from the league office that says 2026 league schedule. And then you start the process of negotiating with the other teams, figuring out game times, maneuvering off days, thinking about travel, all the different things. You speak to your ballpark events team to see what dates may be reserved the following year, yada, yada, yada. Cut to, by August, the full schedule is ready to go, and we're still in the middle of this season. Couple things about Major League Baseball schedule that were very interesting is I remind you that next year is the final year of this collective bargaining agreement. At the end of next season, at the end of December of 2026, the current CBA expires and we enter into a work stoppage if there's not a new CBA signed. We're operating, Dollar, Coca, they're operating under the current CBA, where inside that CBA, there are rules and regulations about the calendar, when games have to start, travel issues, international games, all sorts of things are codified in the CBA. And for 2027, which will be a new CBA, there will be new rules and regulations about the schedule. It's not going to be expansion by then. It won't be a reduced schedule from 162 by then, but there will be things in there about international games and all the other specialty games and times, etc. But that's not going to be negotiated in time for the normal schedule release next year, because there is no chance in the world that a new CBA will be announced by next August 26th. It's simply, or today's the 27th, excuse me. It's simply not going to happen. We are live, I promise. So how will they do that? So what the league does is they put together a provisional schedule, and they'll do that for 27, assuming the same rules as 26, knowing they're going to have to screw around given either new rules that are part of a new CBA or a shortened season because of a work stoppage where they have to throw out the schedule. Remember the last CBA, Coca, where the season started late and they extended it by a week. The World Series went into November in 2022. And what they did is they moved the first series or two that was missed, and they just moved it to the end of the season. You may or may not remember that, but that was a relatively easy fix. If you have more games missed or there's no new deal until April and you have to have a condensed spring training and then a shortened season, everything gets screwed up. So the whole schedule is this puzzle of insanity that in 2026 was made worse by a couple of things. One, the World Cup is in North America, not the World Baseball Classic. We'll get to that. FIFA's World Cup is being played in certain major league cities, and the Major League Baseball schedule had to accommodate that. So there's certain quirks in the schedule that you'll notice if you're Seattle, etc., that you've got weird off days, and that's all World Cup related. Secondly, they found a way to do a deal. Back in 2012, when Marlins Park opened, we opened the season against the St. Louis Cardinals on April 4th, 2012 at 7:05 p.m. That was the first game at Marlins Park, and that was the only game on the schedule. The season started the next day, but we got opening night, national TV on our own. Here we are, roughly 14 seasons later. And there will be a national game the first night of the season, but it's not April 4th. It's March 25th. That's right. In only 210 days, which is nothing. We can't even say it's next year. You have to say next season because it's not a year. 210 days from today, next season opens, with the Yankees going to San Francisco to start their season with a West Coast trip against San Francisco and Seattle. Now, in theory, San Francisco may be better next year, may not. They're the worst team in baseball since they got Devers. Maybe that'll continue if they keep Devers, but it's still tough to open on the West Coast. Your spring training in Tampa, then you schlep to the West Coast. Some of the players will have been playing in the World Baseball Classic. It's going to be a very fractured spring training. Everybody else opens the next day on March 26th, and that will be after the World Baseball Classic. We are going to get really cool baseball starting on March 5th, which is 22 days before the opener, which, if you're doing your math quickly, that's 188 days from now the World Baseball Classic starts. Will we have Ohtani face Trout to end the World Baseball Classic with Japan defending its title? I doubt it, because to do that, you'd need to have Mike Trout on Team USA. Will he be on Team USA? Wait to see. But the 2026 World Baseball Classic tournament with Mark DeRosa managing, Michael Hill as the GM of Team USA, all sorts of interesting people are pitching coaches and hitting coaches and managers and GMs of teams around the world. It's going to be a great tournament. So that starts the season for real, sort of the excitement of baseball, which then means spring training opens earlier. So wait for it. Spring training, some teams will report, all teams will report early February, not mid-February. The second thing I noticed, and I've got to take a non-victory lap here, because everything points to Las Vegas ballpark opening on time and over budget for 2028. I am very, very thrilled for the people in Las Vegas who I know and love. They are going to have a baseball team, and it's going to be the Aths, and they're going to get a sneak preview next season, June 8th to June 14th. The Aths are going to Vegas. If you're the Milwaukee Brewers and the Colorado Rockies, you are loving life, because instead of going to Sacramento for your series against Oakland, you get to go to Vegas, baby. Let's go. The players, I'm sure, are thrilled, both the Aths players. I wonder whether Severino's happy. I wonder whether Severino will even be on the team. But in any case, 6 games in Vegas that they'll play at the AAA park where the Aviators play. And the question is, will that build excitement and get season tickets going? Well, the only thing I know is that next year, and it's going to happen again in 27, no matter what happens in the CBA, you can bet your sweet bipsters that the Aths will be playing games in Vegas in the summer of 27 as well, if there's baseball. It's all part of the soft launch of having that team move to Vegas. And I did not think it would happen. I still haven't seen the financing for the ballpark. I still can't figure out how you get a ballpark on 9 acres. I truly can't. All of that said, there's rebar, baby, and the president of the Aths says everything's going great. So I'm going to be positive, and I'm going to say awesome. I can't wait to go to that ballpark. I've told you stories, many of them, about 9/11. It's hard to imagine it's been 25 years. Baseball, like it did on the 20th anniversary of 9/11, is having the Yankees and Mets play on the 25th anniversary of 9/11. There's something it's for 18% of you, and you weren't around, but I'll tell you that there's nothing that's been a part of my life that I've been alive for, or at least aware of, like 9/11. And the fact that baseball continues to celebrate it, and the role that baseball played in the recovery from 9/11 cannot be overstated at all. And having the Yankees and Mets go on 9/11 is fantastic, and just a great tribute and honor to those lives lost and the millions of lives that are impacted and continue to be impacted by 9/11. There will be international games not announced, but look for the Padres and Diamondbacks to go international. And I close this little schedule bit with our favorite team down in St. Petersburg. You think I forgot about the Trop? You think I forgot about my wait to see that there won't be another game at the Trop, knowing that I'm likely going to lose that wait to see because next year's schedule came out and the Rays said, put us on the road again. Not like this year where you had us play at home the first half of the year because we're playing outdoors where the Yankees have spring training while the Trop gets restored. Well, the Yankees are an absolute no to host the Rays next season. And so baseball is praying that St. Petersburg will get the Trop restored. It's why you see updates, and part of the roof has been put back, and they're really trying to get done. But Tampa said, hey, put us on the road to start. And MLB said, no problem. How about a 9-game road trip to start your season? And the reason I laughed is that people in the media and fans are writing, oh, that's the extra time that Tampa needed to make sure the Trop is ready. When you've got a stadium project, 9 days, it matters. It sounds so counterintuitive. Like, what would 9 days mean in a 36-month construction timeline or in a 12-month Trop restoration timeline? You'd be shocked how much 9 days matters. And MLB granted that wish, and the Rays will start on the road and then come back to the Trop. I am not, Coca, taking the loss on the wait to see until such time as the Rays play at the Trop. I will, however, take the wait to see loss from yesterday. I had it wrong. If you go back and listen to yesterday's show, you know I'm accountable for wait to sees. Go to davidsamsonpodcast.com. Check them out. But my God, I can't believe the Yankees started Volpe. I thought there was no chance in HE double hockey sticks that they would start him. I thought they'd maybe defensive replacement. Oh, that's sort of funny. Maybe a pinch runner. That's possible. Pinch hitter. Oi, no chance. They started him. The Yankees won again. He did go 0 for 4 with a K. I don't know why they had him face Mackenzie Gore. That's no way to treat a lady, no way. Got that one wrong. 100 games. It's a lot of games, isn't it? When Yordan Alvarez was out for the Astros with his hand, no one thought he'd miss 100 games. The thought was he'd have the minimum stay on the injured list if you go back and read articles from when it happened. And he's had a bunch of complications. He is the heart of that lineup, the power, the soul, more so than even Altuve now. You know they don't have Bregman anymore. They don't have Tucker anymore. And the Astros continue to be in first place. They want to win a World Series again so badly because then even the naysayers will have to go dynasty. But Yordan Alvarez is back after 100 games missed with that hand injury. And his return is an interesting one because I remind you that teams improving at the deadline of August 31st, it doesn't happen anymore. There is no deadline on August 31st other than to set who's eligible for your playoff roster. The trade deadline is now only one deadline back on July 31st. So how do you make your team better? Well, you can sign a player who's been designated for assignment. You can make any sort of free agent signing of someone who's not on a team, maybe in a beer league somewhere. But the real way that teams get better this time of year, given the new rules, people will say, oh, like the Mets, how about calling up a young guy? All right, that's one. But no. The real way is if your star player is injured and they come back right about now. And here we are, August 27th, and the Astros have the middle of their order back. I don't exactly know what they're going to do with Alvarez, because if you've been watching the Astros, remember when Altuve to start the season was playing left field and we were saying to each other, well, why isn't he at second base? And then we said because he's a below average second baseman now. And then we said, well, wait a minute, he's also a below average left fielder, and playing left field in Houston is not easy. So I guess they may DH him a bit. And then Alvarez gets hurt. They DH Altuve. So now they got to put Alvarez back in the field if they're going to keep DHing Altuve, or they put Altuve back in left field, which they don't want to do, or they got to risk having Alvarez in the outfield, which they don't love doing. That's the problem. When you're putting your roster together and you sign players, take the Yankees as a great example. They have Stanton as their primary DH. What do you do when Aaron Judge can't play the field anymore? That's right, can't play the field anymore. You got to DH him, which means either Stanton sits or he has to play in the outfield, right field, and get bases clearing doubles and help the Yankees to victories. But when you are putting your team together and I talk about positional flexibility, it is so under-discussed, but it is overemphasized by front offices. You want players, it's like a negative word for whatever reason in the media, like pejorative when people say a utility player, a super utility player. Do you know how important we viewed utility players? It doesn't mean that we paid them a lot, because that's the joy of it. You get a player who can play 5 positions with confidence, that you feel good about putting his name in the lineup every day at a different position. You're not hurting yourself, and they're middle of the road in terms of pay, like $2 to $7 million per year. It is a hell of a situation and a great deal when you can find a player like that. The thing is, Altuve, Alvarez, those are not utility players. And I don't mean because of their payroll, their salary. I mean because of their ability. They are not out there where they can play 4 positions. They are primarily best used as a designated hitter. Problem, you only get one of those. So we'll watch the Astros lineup. We'll watch it unravel and see what they're going to do. If you're the Seattle Mariners, just keep going, keep going. If you're the Texas Rangers, there is no going. That's it. I'm officially calling it today. on August 27th. Now, last night, you'll hear in our pick of the day that the Rangers won, and Corbin Day was an unmitigated disaster. But news came out that, in theory, came out of nowhere because Nathan Eovaldi was the listed starter for today for the Rangers. And their president of baseball operations, Chris Young, did a pregame announcement. Sorry, folks, Nathan's closed. No hot dog for you. He's got what I like to refer to as old arm syndrome. Remember Nathan Eovaldi, multiple Tommy Johns? Remember Nathan Eovaldi missed a month already this year? Remember Nathan Eovaldi signed a 3-year, $75 million contract at 35 years old, and I couldn't have been happier for him. We loved having him on the Marlins. He's just a great guy. I loved having him pitch. Cerebral, quiet, talented. What a career he's had. 2 World Series rings, Boston and the Texas Rangers. Just an outstanding haul of pretty good season, a pretty good career. And now he's done. That's it. Just like that. The Rangers, who really thought that post-deadline they were going to get their offense together, their pitching staff was going to have a potential Cy Young winner, but Eovaldi only qualified for the Cy Young like for a hot second when he had 100 innings pitched or whatever he had. Remember the rule, you have to have 1 inning pitched for every game your team has played to qualify for the ERA. I meant ERA. I meant, Coca, that he was a Cy Young candidate, but he was not an earned run average winner candidate because he didn't qualify to win the ERA title. Now, of course, he's done. But don't forget how good Eovaldi's been. While it's only been 20 or so starts, his ERA was under 2. So when he qualified, he was above Skubal, better than Skeens. This guy was the best pitcher in baseball. Not an all-star with the bonus. If you are the Texas Rangers, you're looking at 25 large for Eovaldi next year at 36, coming off a season of multiple injuries, including a season ender, and you're thinking to yourself, what do I do? Because we're 210 days away from the season starting, and the Texas Rangers are already thinking about next season. How do you make your roster decisions when you've got $25 million going to Eovaldi and you don't know what you're going to get from him? These are the things that you don't want to have to think about when you sign a pitcher to a long-term deal, but they're always in your head, but you pretend that you're going to be the exception. My guy's going to be healthy and worth it no matter the age. A 3-year deal for a 35-year-old pitcher, it's patently absurd. And now the Rangers are paying the price. And if you think it only impacts this season, or if you thought the Rangers were done anyway, and now they're really done, just know that it actually impacts next season just as much. And I say more. And the reason I say it impacts next season more is that when you're August 27th and you know you're not making the playoffs, you are focused on next season. And when you start planning for next season and you've got one hand tied behind your back, it stinks. It's not too dissimilar to paying players not to play for you and knowing that one day that day will come, like the Marlins paying $10 million of Stanton's contract next year, like they did this year. And so you're wondering why the Marlins on-field payroll is low. And then you're like, well, wait a minute. Every 2 weeks, they're paying $1 million to Giancarlo Stanton, rough math. I guess my point here, Coca, is that the seasons come really fast. And the future that you think is so far away, it's a blink of an eye. Right now, the Rangers are looking at a starting rotation next year where they have an aging and hurt Eovaldi, a phenomenal Jacob deGrom who's going to be a year older, but he has been obviously unhittable, but getting older. Father Time isn't going to lose. They've got $67 million before they say boo going to those 2 guys. And you know it's coming, but you think it's going to be fine, and then it comes, and then you're DBR, baby, despondent beyond repair. But don't worry. If you think Texas is not rooting for a work stoppage where 2027 disappears so the $61 million they owe Eovaldi and deGrom can just poof, run up and disappear. No, I'm kidding. Ray Davies is never voting. It's not Ray Davies. That's the lead singer for the Kinks. It is Ray Davies. I am having such a moment, Coca, the owner of the Rangers and the lead singer of the Kinks. Is it possible it's the same name? Or is it Ray Davis? This is it. This is how you know that we are with you and we don't edit. We do nothing but live. What is the name of the Rangers owner, please? It is Davis. Okay, different guy. Not the lead singer. We are not giving the people what they want, but better things are ahead for art lovers. Coca's happy today. I like when Coca's happy because it changes the whole day for me. And I know pretty well when we start whether or not he's in a good mood. But when the Mets are playing well, it helps. Let me just say that. Now, of course, Mets fans are programmed like Jets fans that even when things are good, the sky's going to fall. It's a matter of when, not if. That is sort of the stable position for Mets fans, and that's well earned. But Coca is all excited about all of a sudden the young starting pitchers who are part of the Mets teams. Are you aware that there is a young 7th-round Canadian named Jonah Tong who's going to be called up, and he's been the best minor league pitcher in baseball? Forget the number 1 ranked prospect is being called up. The team's number 2 ranked pitching prospect. MLB's number 69 ranked prospect. We are focused on performance here, and Jonah has performed. Make no big bones about it. When you've got a 1.58 ERA and 22 minor league starts, you're doing something. Now he's going to get to do it for the Mets. Now, being called up to start right now, this time of year, that is not coincidence. Remember the rule. If you're not on the 40-man roster by 11:59 p.m. on August 31st, which is only 4 days from now, you can't play in the postseason. You are not eligible to be on the 26-man roster. So you're going to see a few roster ads here over the next few days by playoff potential teams or playoff guaranteed teams as they make sure they're in a position to be able to choose the 26 men they want come day one of their first playoff series. Now, people may be saying, David, that's a little premature celebration for Jonah. He hasn't even pitched 1 inning. He hasn't taken his first strikeout ball and put it in a cube and gotten it signed. That is true. However, when you look at the Mets roster and you look at their starting rotation, I got a little prediction for you, Coca, that I think is going to make you happy. Wait to see. This is an official one. When we tell you something's going to happen, if it does, we're going to revisit it. You can revisit all the wait to sees from all 1,344 episodes on davidsamsonpodcast.com. We have this amazing tracking document. And if you can't find it, you're not looking hard enough. Go to the website, click the dashes, go under tracking document, click. It's literally open to the public. You see it the way I see it. Well, add this wait to see, Coca. Jonah Tong will make the Mets postseason roster in 2025. The reason I felt I had to be specific is that means that the Mets are making the postseason, which I feel pretty darn good about right now. And then having Jonah, a young pitcher with only a month of experience, as one of 13 on the roster, hell yeah. Official wait to see. And no, I'm not despondent that I lost the Volpe one, Jack. I know that to you, and I get it, that you want me to win every wait to see. It's good for business. I cannot believe the Yankees started Volpe. It's infuriating to me. But I'm happy that we're teaming up with Jackpocket, America's #1 lottery app. You can order Powerball, Mega Millions, and scratch-off tickets in just a couple taps. And new customers, listen up. They're giving you $5 in lottery credits. Not too shabby. Download the app, opt in, and don't forget to use code SUPERFAN, SUPERFAN, when signing up. So go grab the Jackpocket app. Use that code. This is it. Please let me know if this ain't Jackpocket. Nah, forget it. I was doing a whole Huey Lewis thing. Just forget it. Just cut that whole thing so the sponsor doesn't get upset. I had it. All right, let's go to the review, please. This is your moment to skip ahead. If you do not want to hear me compliment Tom Cruise, and I am not a Scientologist, I cannot in any way endorse Scientology. As a matter of fact, my view, the cult-like, it's a nightmare of criminal activity and sociopathic, terrible behavior. However, artist, I watched Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. You know I've always loved Tom Cruise. I'm going to say that if I had to come up with the top 5 right now of all time bankable stars with range, Tom Cruise is right there with Bill Murray. That's a top 5. We're talking serious movies. We're talking funny movies. We're talking action movies. We're talking a franchise. Mission Impossible came to an end. I was waiting for it to stream. I bought it. 2 hours and 47 minutes. And I loved every minute of it. I didn't get upset at all that they did a ton of lookbacks to the other movies in the series. I got a chance to look at a young Tom Cruise doing Mission Impossible 1, and I got a chance to relive the first minute he pulled off John Voight's head, and it was him. I thought that I had seen God. The first time I saw Tom Cruise running full speed, which would become his signature. And yes, it happened in Final Reckoning twice, because you know it's going to happen. The minute I know that Tom Cruise did his own stunts, and there was a scene, the end of the movie, with 2 old-time airplanes with Morales, the actor, and Cruise, the actor, each flying and bobbing, dipping in, out, knowing that they were, I could not believe it. I'm hooked. I thought Mission Impossible Final Reckoning was fantastic. A great nod to the series. What I did at the end of the movie, and I don't mind doing this alone at all. There's a lot of things I don't mind doing alone. I'm fine with it. I gave a standing ovation. I stood up where I was watching the movie yesterday, Coca, and I gave a full standing O, because I watched the entire credits, of course, and it's amazing the thousands of people who did this to entertain me for, 167 minutes. But thank you, Tom Cruise. Thank you for all of the years, and it's been a ton of years, like decades, where you've done Mission Impossible. What I want to do, Coca, were there to ever be another pandemic, God forbid, I don't want one, I can't deal with it, but I got to find a moment. I wonder if I'll have a long flight coming up anywhere. I want to go back to Mission Impossible 1, and I want to watch the entire series back to back to back to back. And I want to end this review by making sure people understand Tom Cruise is 63 years old. Say what you want about his politics. Say what you want about his religion. Say what you want about his plastic surgeon. The fact of the matter is, say what you want about any supplements he's doing. I'm telling you right now, Tom Cruise without a shirt, in. I'm telling you now, Tom Cruise doing his own stunts, in. I'm telling you that you will not believe what you're seeing. You're going to say, whoa, that's a little old to be doing this. And then you're going to be thinking, it's unreal. And it is. I get to watch Moulin Rouge today. I've been holding off, Coca. I've been holding off because I can't wait for the spectacular, spectacular song. And I get to do that today. I'm going to review Moulin Rouge tomorrow. That is in my top 5 of all time, and it may end up even higher because that's how much I love Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor and everybody who stars in Moulin Rouge. I was going to mispronounce John's name, who plays Toulouse-Lautrec, Luigiziamo, but I didn't want to mispronounce it, so I just kept going. I don't mind when people used to criticize how I ran the teams I ran for 18 years. I never minded it. It's a matter of having thick skin. It's a matter of letting water just flow off your back. I didn't love on behalf of other people when they were being just torched, because I just wasn't sure that they were in a position to take it the way that I was always in position to take it. I'm speaking to you, out there in Pittsburgh, all of the Pirates fans, and I know we've got a good audience in Pittsburgh, and I'm very appreciative of it. I love doing a live tour stop there when we did our first tour. Coco, we have not announced dates for our second tour. I wonder why. Stay tuned. But I don't love the way Bob Nutting is treated, and you think that I just carry water for owners. But the fact is that certain things the Pirates do get criticized, and I'm fine with you criticizing. I'm fine with you booing. I just want you to have the information. So yesterday is a great example. Andrew Heaney, a player, Coca, who I drafted, and I don't remember what year, but it could have been 2015, 14, 15, 16, maybe 14, somewhere in that range, still pitching in the big leagues. Yesterday, Andrew Heaney got designated for assignment by the Pittsburgh Pirates, and everyone went crazy. Everyone thought the Pirates were screwing Andrew Heaney. How could you designate him when he's pitched 120 and a third innings? Why would you do that when he's so close to making more money? And then you looked closer and you realized that when he signed a contract with the Pirates this past offseason, it had incentives in it. Incentives for pitchers based on innings pitched if you're a starter. If you're a closer, they can be based on games finished. They can be based on game appearances. For starters, you do innings pitched. And I want to tell you how they work. You establish what you think that pitcher is going to pitch for you because, as I told you, you've mapped out your year. It never works out that way, but you always map out your year. When they sign Andrew Heaney, they say, we'll pay you, but we'll pay you for 120 innings. Any innings above that, we will give you a bonus. 50 grand if it's 130 innings, 100 grand for 140 innings, whatever the number is. You base it on what you expect Heaney to pitch, what he has done in the past, given injury history, given performance history. But the thing about these incentive clauses is that the players all agree to them. You cannot intentionally inflict an innings clause or any bonus clause on a player. It's not like the player is in his first 3 years of playing where you just give him the contract and whatever it is, no rules apply, no bonuses, no nothing. It's just the CBA minimum, that's it. When you're a free agent, it's got to be a total meeting of the minds. Andrew Heaney agreed, knowing because his agent is not a moron. When you have a base salary and it's for 120 innings pitched, and the team is not in the race, either you're going to be traded if you're performing, or if you stink, you are going to be released because the team will not allow you to hit that incentive clause. Has anyone seen Marcus Stroman recently? You know what I'm talking about. The team is paying attention. Why? Because the team president has a list. I carry it around with me. Every player, every bonus clause, every incentive clause, every level of that incentive clause, and then an updated sheet daily on where every player was, at bats, innings pitched, regardless. He was 9.2 innings short of making 100 grand. Boy, did they do him dirty. No, they didn't. Go look at his game log. Do you know how bad Andrew Heaney has been? And I love him. He's had a great career. It's one of a great success story for a draft pick. But that said, it is fiscally irresponsible. It is a breach of fiduciary duty to your partners if you gave Andrew Heaney another $100,000. You'd be better off rolling it up and smoking it. You'd be better off giving it as bonuses to your front office employees. You'd be better off putting it into your draft budget or your amateur draft budget. You'd be better off hiring someone in analytics or scouting. You'd be better off buying a Banksy, anything other than giving it to Andrew Heaney. So when the Pirates did this, the knee-jerk reaction is, oh, that's Pirates being Pirates. And that's where you have it wrong. Because when you're in an owners meeting and you're looking at 29 other owners and 29 other presidents, or you're in the GM meetings looking at 29 other GMs or president of baseball operations, and you think to yourself, am I doing something different? Am I trying to get an advantage somewhere? Am I going to be one of the first teams to do the shift? Am I going to be one of the first teams to be able to afford these special pitching machines? Am I going to be one of the first teams to have a deep analytics department or some sort of special socio-physio training? You do think about that. But you also look at the other 29 and you say, every single one of them is doing this. And there's certain things that are a part of baseball that when all 30 teams are doing it, they're not all wrong. They're not all cheap. They're not all doing Andrew Heaney dirty. They are operating a team. They're operating a business. Andrew Heaney, designated for assignment, in position now to be swooped up by a playoff team, given what we discussed prior in this show, added to a roster to be playoff eligible. Coca, I think it's time for a second wait to see. We rarely do two wait to sees, but when I feel passionate about something, sometimes it just, poof, comes into my head in the middle of a show. This is an official wait to see. Andrew Heaney will not be on a playoff roster in 2025. Got that, Coca? Write it down in the document. August 27th, Andrew Heaney will not be on a playoff roster in 2025. Book it. But Andrew, congrats, man. What a career. Exactly what we had hoped when we drafted you. I wanted to do a phone call now. I just don't have my props ready. I want to do a phone call between FIFA's president, Gianni Infantino, and the president of the United States, Donald Trump, because it would be a funny call. I'd have to purse my lips. I'd have to pretend that I look both bald and able to accept bribes. I'd really have to think about it. No, I'm not saying he accepts bribes. Come on. Why would I say that? FIFA is straight. It is legit. Everything that happens is above board and perfect. Everything that happens in all governments across the world, totally transparent. We know everything. Don't watch documentaries. Don't listen to conspiracy theorists. But man, what happened between FIFA and the U.S. yesterday, that was a little piece of something. News came out that there's going to be a World Cup draw. Well, that's not newsworthy. There's always a World Cup draw when there's a World Cup draw whenever there's a World Cup. Why is this important, David? Well, the World Cup in 2026 is in North America. Remember? Canada, United States, Mexico, North America. Well, where's the draw going to be? Vegas, baby. That's where everything that's cool happens. That's where baseball teams move. That's where hockey teams come into existence and lift Stanley Cups to make fans happy. That's where Tom Brady goes to stay in a suite, buy a great home in Henderson. Although I don't know if he's there. Summerlin? Nah, probably Henderson. Maybe just a suite at Bellagio. Who knows? Villa? But Vegas is where it all happens. And FIFA's World Cup draw was ready to go to Vegas. They had a deal cut with MGM, publicly traded company. Saved the dates out. Hotel rooms saved. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was announced that FIFA's World Cup draw is going to be at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. And I thought to myself, Kennedy Center. You mean the one where the president took over the board, got rid of everybody, replaced everyone, and said only certain kinds of performances will be allowed at the Kennedy Center? That one? Wait, the Kennedy Center? Huh. Who runs that? Who's the chairman of the Kennedy Center? Wait, what's happening? I just saw a picture of Trump and Infantino together with an announcement. This can't be happening. Did FIFA pull the World Cup draw out from under Vegas's eyes in order to move it to D.C.? You bet your sweet keister he did. Why? Why would you think that FIFA wants to make sure that the president of the United States is doing everything possible to help FIFA. Therefore, FIFA would do everything possible to do whatever the president wanted. You want to know what quid pro quo is? Look no further than FIFA changing its World Cup draw to DC. Now, The Athletic did a whole thing on this. I remind you, go to The Athletic. Please subscribe. They're not a part. Well, actually, now that they've licensed Pablo Torre finds out, we are sort of partners with The Athletic, which is great. New York Times. Just subscribe. It's unbelievable work by Jason Stark and Ken Rosenthal and Evan Drellick and all the others. This was in The Athletic. There's a great article about it. But when Trump announced that the World Cup draw would take place at the Kennedy Center, I realized how it happened. Trump went to Infantino and said, I know you're supposed to go to Vegas, but I've got a way better suggestion. I want you to bring it to D.C., where we've got newly safe streets. We want to show that D.C. is the center of the universe. Forget New York, that liberal town. Forget any place else. Let's make the district our own. Let's bring events. Let's get a new football stadium for the Commanders. Let's do everything possible to make DC a force. Whatever it is that you had agreed to with MGM, forget it. Public company, don't worry, I shorted their stock anyway. Please cancel with them. I don't even say please. Just do it. But why is it actually interesting? Because MGM ended up being thanked by FIFA for its part in the process. FIFA said MGM was disappointed, to put it mildly, at the outcome. It's a big deal to lose this sort of revenue, especially for a public company. And you have to think to yourself, is this going to happen to me again? How do I protect against this? If I'm a public company or private company and I have a contract with anything that may or may not interest the president, which is everything, I am putting in a provision which is absolutely enforceable that will enable me to get a breakup fee if all of a sudden they're last-second shenanigans. Breakup fees are very common in contracts. It's when you think you're going to have a deal, then all of a sudden you don't have a deal, but in order to not have a deal, you have to make a payment to the other party. MGM should have gotten a payment from FIFA. FIFA's familiar with making payments, getting payments, I would think. Let's go to the nothing personal pick of the day, please. Nothing personal pick of the day presented by Patrick Corbin. Because if you're Patrick Corbin and you go 8 innings of 3-hit shutout ball, you are shoving the nothing personal pick of the day right where the sun don't shine, deep in the heart of Texas. Ugh. The Angels were minus 110 over the Rangers. How did Corbin do that? How's that even possible? But he did. We're down to 113 and 109. We're going to make it up today, though. Big game. Shohei Ohtani is going for the Dodgers against the Reds. Let me give you a quick update on our Cincinnati Reds, or your Cincinnati Reds. This is serious now. The Cincinnati Reds are currently behind the Mets, and they're getting further away. They're 3.5 games back. They've lost 2 in a row. You know the Mets have won 2 in a row. They're not close to San Diego or the Cubs at all. So they're really fighting with Cincinnati only. Cincinnati's got to win a game. Cincinnati Reds are plus 168. Now, I grant you it's Ohtani. I grant you the Dodgers are expected to win the game, but we'll take the positive juice. Reds plus 168 over Ohtani and the Dodgers. That's our nothing personal pick of the day. And when we come back, guess what? It's Wednesday, baby. So you want to talk to Samson. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It is hour 2 on Wednesday, August 27th. And since June 2nd, when we went to 2 hours, you know what Wednesdays mean. It is time for So You Want to Talk to Samson.
You know what I want? I want to talk to Samson.
So You Want to Talk to Samson. I love hearing that, Coca. There's a movie called Half Baked. Check it out. Not Half Baked 2, Half Baked 1. There's a character named Samson, and people want to talk to him. So please, we have a phone number now. It's not just DMs at David P. Samson. You can find me there, and I may see it, I may not. You can also find me on Instagram, David P. Samson. I may see messages there, I may not. Or you can email at davidsamsonpodcast.com. I may see those emails, I may not. But now we have a phone number. It's 631-377-4869. That's 631, if you know, you know. 377 is DPS, and 4869. You know what that is? That means I've made some sort of mistake, and I'm starting over for the edit. That's how our editors know what to cut out and what not to. We have a staff of 11 editors who are waiting for me to say 4869. No, don't edit that. So make sure you call, leave a message. 30 seconds. 20's fine. 40's okay. More than that, don't. I'll listen to them, and it may make the show every Wednesday, hour 2. And I want to start immediately. So here we go. Actually, this one's not a voicemail. We're starting with someone who DM'd me, and his name is Brian, although I don't know for sure that's his name. And I don't know for sure where I got this from. It may have been at David P. Samson on X. Hi, David. Fairly new follower from Toronto. Eh? I'm a big Jays fan. With all the talk around the TV deals, I'm wondering how the Jays would fit in, specifically since they are owned by a media company rather than owning their own network. There is also the international angle, which you are one of the few people qualified to talk about. Hope to hear an answer/explanation. Brian. Well, thank you for that, Brian. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for saying that I'm one of the few people qualified. Normally, I'm only one of the few people qualified to do things that, frankly, no one else wants to do, which is really not a huge career advantage. To be qualified to do things that everybody would like to do, that's when you can start making some cake. Let me tell you about Canada. You know I love Canada. I adore it. Montreal, moi, je t'aime. Toronto, my affinity for Blair and Barker, a show that I'm on. Sportsnet, the team. I talk about your front office with Shapiro. I talk about the fact, Vladimir frickin' Guerrero. But when it comes to TV, here's the thing. Canada is not measured, which means that when you talk about ratings and you talk about eyeballs, while ratings may not matter, they're good for PR and you make those releases. When networks are out there bidding for rights, it's US, not Canada. There's a totally separate broadcast arrangement for Canada. And so the thought of, let's say, a Toronto-Montreal World Series, it's like a Malrev for baseball. If you speak French, you know what that means. Do you know, Coca, on a side note, that on Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, please hit subscribe. You have to subscribe. Now, if you hit the settings wheel and you can change the audio, so maintenant, je peux parler français, or possible, habla español, or even Japanese. There are multiple languages where you can hear Nothing Personal every day. And it's not my voice, though, Coca. I actually don't know. It must be an AI voice now that I think about it. But whatever it is, it's damn cool. So if you're wondering why it is you can only understand 1% of what I say because I speak quickly or you don't speak English, guess what? YouTube is now for you. We are available in all sorts of languages. But I digress. The reason why it's a Malrev, French, bad dream, nightmare, mal bad, rev, dream, nightmare. Why? Because it's two non-calculable markets. So when you are going out and doing TV deals, There used to be within MLB, listen to this, Brian, there used to be a whole separate department that did the international TV deals. It was a whole different group of people. Now, of course, baseball has gotten much smarter under Rob Manfred. Not that it wasn't smart under Bud Selig, but just much smarter under Rob Manfred. It's a different world right now, and it's all under the same person, Noah Garden, deputy commissioner, who does TV deals everywhere, including the new Netflix deal to show the World Baseball Classic in Japan. That's sort of my point. You have to negotiate different deals, U.S. versus other international markets. Canada is one of those markets, and it never used to be a big deal. There was coast-to-coast deals that you could do. You then had to have a French deal in Montreal, which was impossible to do if you're the Expos with Réseau des Sports, that's RDS, or you did something with TSN, the sports network. There's all sorts of different ways that you try to cobble together money on the Canada side, but it never added up to a lot of money. It was always just a blip. Frankly, most of the international deals, they pale in comparison to the U.S. deals, but they're really good for announcements. They're good for reach. The Netflix Japanese World Baseball Classic deal is an interesting example where that actually is a significant deal because of the numbers in Japan for the World Baseball Classic. 10% of the Japanese population was watching the WBC last time when Ohtani struck out Trout. Think about that number. 10% of the population. Those are the type of numbers that you dream about if you're not the NFL. So the Jays have all of Canada, which it was, side note, Brian, one of the reasons Montreal, I don't believe, will get an expansion team because the Jays do not want to give up being Canada's team. There is no amount of money that the Jays would accept giving that territory back. And that goes for the West Coast too, which is why I don't believe Vancouver is a candidate. It is critical because the way Toronto, the way Canada is, it's just totally different than the U.S. in 98.6% good ways. Toronto wants that monopoly. When they're negotiating their own TV deal, the fact that they're owned by Rogers, do you think that that means that the TV deal then will be below market? Well, there's something in baseball called the Revenue Sharing Committee. There's something in baseball where there's a group of people who get together to make sure teams don't screw other teams. Toronto can't do a below market deal because even if they do, it would be actually an implied bigger number for purposes of revenue sharing. What I mean by that, we're a little off the subject, Coca, but this interests me. Hopefully it interests you too. We'll find out immediately. Don't click away. Let's say the Red Sox are doing a deal with NESN, and let's say the Red Sox own NESN, and NESN says, okay, Red Sox, we'll pay you $50 million for all your games. And the Red Sox say, great, I'll take the $50 million for the Red Sox. NESN's going to be hugely profitable, and that's okay because I own NESN also. So it's just different pockets. But then baseball has to approve that. And baseball gets together and says, $50 million for the Red Sox annual rights? Forget it. Now, if that's what you're being paid, then good for you. But for purposes of revenue sharing, we're going to pretend that you were paid $100 million. And then the Boston Red Sox get to complain. They get to file an appeal. It gets to be a hearing. There's a committee. It's all within baseball. It's all fixed. You get the result that the commissioner and the teams want, and there is a pinned number for the Red Sox broadcast. That's how it works in the real world. Toronto is no different than that. So as a Jays fan, when you're thinking about whether or not the Jays will impact what MLB is announcing with its new 3-year deals, no, not impactful at all. Before we go to our first voicemail, Coca, I wanted to do an update here in hour 2. I just wanted to say that yesterday we did on the show a couple minutes about Dave Portnoy and about Barstool and about Ohio State and how Ohio State banned Dave Portnoy. And I really was very aggressive against Ohio State. I thought it was petty. I thought that they were silly. I thought they should just have 102,000 people boo. And I don't want to be the person who's not accountable when I'm wrong. And there's so many shows you must listen to and watch where blowhards just talk and they never care whether they're right or wrong, and they certainly aren't going to revisit it. I don't want that to be me. I respect you too much as an audience. I had it wrong. It turns out Ohio State did not issue a ban on Dave Portnoy. It turns out that their athletic director went right to Yahoo Sports and said, hey, just so you know, it was Fox who did it. It was not us. We are in the clear. How silly of me. It was Fox. Fox said, you know what? Let's not have Portnoy in the horseshoe. Let's see if we can just get all sorts of media attention right now and not worry about the actual weekly show. Horse hockey. That update is absolutely ridiculous. Dave Portnoy actually just came out and did an entire rant, like a 6-minute crazy rant, where he said, just own what you do. Own what you do. Don't hide. Oh, we didn't ban him. You banned me. So wait a minute, Coca. Do I have to apologize? Do I not have to apologize? Is he banned? Is he not banned? Who banned him? That will do it for my coverage of the engagement of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Reputations are at stake. All right, Coca, play me someone's dulcet tones, please.
Hi, David. This is Darren from Spokane. I'm a daily listener since January 2020. It seems to me like MLB is having sort of a Caitlin Clark moment right now with Shohei Ohtani, and with guys like Judge and Cal Raleigh and Olivia Dunn's boyfriend all doing well. Where do you think baseball will be in 3 years when Ohtani isn't pitching anymore, Judge is no longer above average, and Soto's contract is a proven bust? In other words, could media companies and streamers have leverage again in making the next big media rights deal? Thank you. Bye-bye.
First of all, thank you for that. And thank you for being so loyal up in Washington since January of 2020. How humbling is that, Coca? That really is phenomenal. Thank you for giving me an hour of your day up until June 2nd and now giving me 2 hours of your day. I do not take your time for granted. However, I must answer your question. MLB having a moment? Caitlin Clark? They wish they were having a Caitlin Clark moment. Everyone dies to have a Caitlin Clark moment, because what is a Caitlin Clark moment? Cha-ching! Do you see the new CC logo? MLB's not having a Caitlin Clark moment. Even the NFL doesn't have, well, that's not true. They had a Taylor Swift moment. Did you know, Coca, that Jason Kelce's brother is now engaged to Taylor Swift? That news just came out yesterday, but I'm not covering it. Don't even want to talk about it. But your question is a really good one, which is about streamers or any sort of media company. In all of the TV negotiations that I did, both for our team and for the league that I was aware of and a part of, the number of times that a network asked for a copy of our roster. Hold on, I'm going to count. I'm going to count in Spanish. Achat, shtayim, shalosh, cuatro, cinq. Nope, it's 0. Not one time. When a broadcaster's doing a deal with the league, they don't. Now you could say, oh, but what about the Apple deal? That was all about Messi. You sure? Because it wasn't. Oh, wait a minute. The reason ESPN walked away from the deal, did ESPN walk away from a deal with MLB while MLB was having a moment? Was Ohtani and Judge, were they not good when ESPN opted out of the deal? Are we not always telling you about the great young players who are coming up? There's always someone next. There's always the next Soto and the next Ohtani, although there'll never be another Ohtani. If there were never another player, when I say there'll never be another, there's always another. But maybe there really will never be another Ohtani. I mean, there shouldn't have been even one Ohtani. How's that even possible to have an Ohtani? But here's the thing. There'll be another player. There'll be another player who gets attention internationally. There'll be another player who gets attention domestically. There will be another player who is the face of baseball, whether it's the real face or the TV face or the radio face or the streamer face. When these streamers are competing for content for the 2029 season, I promise you, it won't matter that Judge is no longer an above average player. It won't matter that Shohei Ohtani no longer pitches. It won't matter because there'll be next. There's always next. Think about right now who is the attractive asset for a streamer or for a broadcaster. You've listened to John Skipper. You've listened to us on the Sporting Class. You've listened to me since January of 2020. What do I always talk about? The front of the jersey. Because guess what? The Yankees will still be the Yankees in 2029. The Red Sox will still be the Red Sox. The Mets will still be the Mets. In conclusion, it doesn't matter. It's a good question, though. I really do appreciate it. Next.
Hi, David. PGA Tour just announced their new schedule for next year, and the new signature event includes the Miami Championship, obviously at Trump Doral in Florida. No title sponsorship. Just curious, your thoughts on that. Is the PGA trying to buy bribery?
Are you okay? Coca, is that person okay? Was that, I didn't hear any like hello or my name is or I'm from. It sounded like some sort of car phone from the 1980s. I'm picturing like Jimmy Smithson running scared on the big phone and then Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines take it and they're making calls from it. Hello. Oh, I'm watching Jeopardy. Didn't sound like that? Yeah, I wanted to cover this. Thank you for asking, Mr. Red. That was a big announcement, wasn't it? It's like adding a Grand Slam. PGA added a signature event. There's been a lot going on with the PGA. Remember the new committee with Theo, who's on it? Tiger Woods getting involved. They're trying to figure out what's next with the PGA. I don't know if we covered this, Coco, but the whole Fenway Sports Group $1.5 billion investment, and then wondering how Theo got on the committee because he works for Fenway Sports Group. But oh my God, no, he's a brilliant agent of change. PGA's got to change. There's going to be a merger with Liv. Not. Jay Monahan's going to keep being the commissioner. He's already gone. And they hired a guy named Brian Rollup, I believe is his name. And they're trying, from the NFL, and they're trying to figure out how do they compete? What are they doing to make their players happier? Well, one thing the players have talked about a lot is schedule and how tough the schedule is, the back-to-back-to-back tournaments. They need time off. They want to be ready for the majors. They want to focus on that. So what does PGA do? Hell yeah. Let's add a 9th signature. Do you know that there's no chance that they would have added a 9th tournament if it weren't Trump and the Trump Doral? Do you know that PGA pulled a tournament from Trump's golf course during his first term, but things are totally different. And the reason why they're totally different now is Trump is exactly what he advertised to be. He's doing exactly what he said he would do when elected. So for the people who are surprised by what's happening, why would you be surprised? It's literally happening, so you ought to be happy. And the reason why companies are so absolutely sucking at the teat of the presidency is that it always happens. It's not Trump. This happens when there's Democrats in office. This happens when the Republicans' office. This happens no matter who's in office. People want to be near power. And the reason why you want to be power adjacent is that you want to make sure that you are controlling the narrative so that the powerful light does not shine upon you in a way that could have a deleterious impact on your business. It is not a coincidence that all these companies, did you see the, oh, God, dang darn, Tim Cook, Apple, White House gift. I can't think of what the gift was, Coca. But remember when Tim Cook was in the White House presenting Trump at the Resolute desk? Something. Oh, for crying out loud. Hi, I'm David Samson. All right, I'm clear. I just can't remember what it was. They That's right. Thank you, Coca. Did you know that off the top of your head that it was a glass sculpture with the 24 karat gold base? Were you able to multitask? Are we getting that much help from Jack that things are good? These things are happening because it's the responsible way to do your business, and the PGA is no exception to that. We talked about it with baseball yesterday with Rob Manfred and Pete Rose and meeting with Trump and how he would go so far, but not far enough to bring Roger Clemens in the Hall of Fame. That was a whole segment yesterday. It's not going to end anytime soon. It has nothing to do with whether or not Trump runs for his 69th term. It is going to continue to be this way. Why would the tournament return to Miami? Because there's great financial wherewithal for that tournament, and the players are all going to go there, regardless of their politics, because when invited, when qualified, they're going to play in this ninth signature event because the prize money is going to be off the charts. Why? Because Trump wants to make sure that not only is the PGA thriving, but that it's thriving because of him, that it's thriving at a course named after him, that it brings business and attention and normalcy back when people were shying away and doing the Heisman. Now they are doing the embrace of the warm, cuddly glow of God. This is not a coincidence, I repeat. PGA is back at Trump Doral, and they're not going anywhere until there's a Democrat in office. I'm ready for another voicemail, Matthew.
Hey, Samson, Coca, and the crew. Thanks for taking my call. My name is Jeff. Jordan and NASCAR are back in court on Thursday, and you talked about Gruden and the NFL lawsuit and how they are afraid of discovery. Just wondering what the chances are these cases settle to avoid discovery. Thanks. I look forward to hearing your answer.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, Michael Jordan, one of the things he's done post-playing career is he's made a bunch of investments. Remember, he bought a basketball team, and as bad as he was in being the general manager of the Charlotte basketball team, that's how good a businessman he has been, not just post-career, but during his entire career. And one of the things he did is he bought a NASCAR team, and they've been involved in a terrible lawsuit against the owners, the France family of NASCAR, as they have been trying to prove that NASCAR is not playing legally by the rules, that they are forcing NASCAR teams to sign these agreements in order to participate in the NASCAR circuit. And these agreements, like franchise agreements, basically are stopping the teams from being profitable. To which I say, if you don't want to be a part of something because it's not good for you, then don't be a part of it. And then you'll say, but wait a minute, then I can't race on the track. And I'll say, but wait a minute, it's privately owned. And you'll say, I don't care. And I'll say, what do you mean you don't care? Something's privately owned. It is not your constitutional right to be part of NASCAR. But Michael Jordan filed suit against NASCAR and against the France family. And it has been, to say the least, not successful. However, it's not over. And the reason why this one is not settling yet is that Jordan has not gotten the victory that he so expects to get everywhere but on the court as an executive. And a victory in this case would be the court ruling that NASCAR operated in violation of antitrust, that they operated in violation of fair dealings, that they violated in a way that stopped Michael Jordan from turning the profit that he and his investors expected, and damages are owed. Why would Jordan not settle? Now go back to the Gruden talk that you just referenced in your voicemail. Do you remember when I talked about the 80-10-10? And I talked about that if you're after money and it's just money, then you're going to settle. And that so many cases settle and never find the light of day. They never get to open forum, open trial in front of a jury or a bench trial in front of just a judge, because what the person wanted was money. And at the end, money is agreed to and everyone lives happily ever after. But remember, for the 10-10, when it's just blood and you want to damage the other party, You want the truth out there and you want everyone to know it, which is why John Gruden doesn't want to settle with the NFL and why it was such a big deal when the court said, hey, no arbitration. We got ourselves a trial here. I put Michael Jordan in the category with John Gruden because Michael Jordan has a very big interest in taking NASCAR to task, maybe even taking them down. Do you think that Michael Jordan has any thought of having a rival circuit or having his own group of teams where he gets to race at tracks around the country, where he gets all the sponsor deals and all the broadcast deals that are enjoyed by NASCAR? Is that even possible that a billionaire would want to rule the world and would want to get more? Not only is it possible, I could say it's darn near probable. Why is it that NASCAR, the NFL, the France family, the Samson family, why all sorts of people would say, are you sure we can't offer to settle? Because we really would not like any of this to be public. We don't want any documents to be public. We don't want any emails to be public. We don't want any of the discovery to be public. Here's a little surprise for you. Discovery happens prior to settlement all the time, but discovery is not public. People can actually appeal to a court to make certain parts of discovery public, but courts are much more apt to keep discovery private in the hopes that by keeping it private, it will help the parties get to a settlement because the courts are actually far more interested in settling cases than in having cases go all the way, May. So in this case, the discovery, and in many cases like it, where you see everybody's emails, everybody's texts that weren't shredded and erased, everybody's hard drives, everybody's documents, everybody's everything, and you get to go through it, and the expression is to load someone down with discovery. That means to send them a document room, either digitally or paper printed, that has tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of documents, where contained within, if you're willing to take the time and spend the money, you can find that gun that's smoking. But man, it's going to be hard because it's like a needle in a haystack. I didn't hear that, Coca, but it's like a needle in a haystack. So I would say this, that if NASCAR believes that they have a problem and that needle in the haystack can actually be found, then of course they are going to be highly incentivized to offer more money than what is your calculation for a settlement. If that document doesn't exist, if that needle in a haystack doesn't exist and NASCAR doesn't care, or a company that's being sued doesn't care, then they're fine. Go discovery. We'll pay the legal bills. Do you know that just a few days ago, the teams claim now they've got smoking gun documents that will show NASCAR wanted to force competitors to sign these one-sided charter franchise deals? They have the smoking gun they claim, that NASCAR acted illegally. All the things that Jordan has been claiming, they claim now they found it as part of discovery. Well, there's not one case, Coca, that I've come across in my career. And I've been all the way back in college when I was a paralegal. There is not one case where one of the sides did not say, we've got the smoking gun. And don't forget who Michael Jordan's lawyer is. Michael Jordan's lawyer is the guy who I crushed when he represented a group trying to sue me and others. The guest on Pablo Torre finds out, the famous lawyer Jeffrey Kessler, the guy who couldn't win a case if he tried, at least against me. He's representing Jordan. Do you know how many times Jeffrey Kessler has said, I've got the smoking cigar? It's every time, Coca. So I'm not in any way interested that Kessler filed on Monday that they found the smoking gun document. You think NASCAR is shaking in their britches, shivering in their shoes, saying, oh my God, I'm so scared of you, Jeffrey and Michael Jeffrey Jordan. I'm so scared that I'm going to pay you triple, or I'm going to let you sign whatever charter agreement you want. No chance, toilet pants. That was a good question, though. There's going to be way more. Now, wouldn't it be amazing if there really were? Do you think that NASCAR has lawyers who are so bad that there's some document out there somewhere that actually forces competitors in writing saying, you better sign this or else? You better. Here's a little piece of free legal advice from a non-practicing lawyer. If you want to tell someone they better do something or else and you're threatening them, do it orally. Don't put it in writing. NASCAR can't be that stupid. All right, Coca, give me another one, please.
David, this is Brad calling from Houston. Quick question. Rumor down here is that the Texans are planning on spending about $1.4 billion to remodel their stadium. It's about 20-something years old, 22 years old. Why wouldn't they just build a new stadium for that amount of money? I'm interested to hear what your thought is. Bye.
Hi, Brad from Houston. Can you build a new stadium for $1.4 billion? I'm just trying to do the math on that. I'm almost positive he can't. That's the math always. And I don't mean to make a joke of it, but it's very simple math. When you've got an old stadium or an older stadium, or it can even be a new stadium like Turner Field, where you're just not getting the revenue you want, ancillary, so you build Truist Park. When you are trying to keep up with the Joneses, and the Joneses have a team worth $12 billion, you're trying to figure something out. So to do it, you need, basically, in your mind, you go and you write a piece of paper. I did this. Here's our revenue in X category. Here's what the industry average revenue is in that category, because we've got that information. Here's what the top of the category is. Now let me figure out why. Is it size of market? I can't do anything about that. Is it available activities around a stadium? Wait a minute, I can do something about that if I had a different location. What about in-stadium events? Well, I can do something about that. Live in a great city, I got to do a better job of booking. All right, what else? Oh, suites, individual areas, average ticket price. Boy, I can't do anything about that because my cost of living is way lower than theirs. My value and my level of financial wherewithal is way lower than it is on that team. But man, when I look at my stadium, I've got a piece of paper in my left hand that has every category of seat, every club in the stadium, and what it would be in a full sellout over a full season, and the maximum amount of money that I know I can charge because I've done the analysis and it only adds up to X. These guys over here have way more ability to sell way more. Their ticket prices are higher. I'll dismiss that. I'll bring their ticket prices down to mine. They still make more money because they've got more inventory. I need more inventory. All right, I need a new stadium. Wait, I can renovate. Let's cost it out. Let me call an architect. Let me call a contractor. I got to call my mother. I got to call my wife. I got to call my dealer. So I'm just picking up and I'm calling my architect and I'm saying, so tell me, what can we do with this space right over here to make it more profitable? That's what stadium renovations are. That's why when the Dodgers and all the other teams that are redoing their stadium and they're making improvements and they say to you, oh, we've made great improvements. And then they always announce that part of the improvements, we've made clubhouse renovations. Because what they're hiding from you is the majority of the renovations are actually in revenue producing areas where the price is going to go up to you, the fan. But they want to say, hey, this was really about player comfort. And this is about making our players so happy so they can perform well for you. It is such absolute funny horse hockey to me because every renovation that includes clubhouse renovation really is there just for the other parts. And so the Texans in Houston, they're saying to themselves, well, what do we do here? Like, what's the plan? And then the architect says, well, you can do this, this, and this. Then the contractor says it's going to cost that, that, and that. Then on the other side, you do a parallel path and say, well, what if we just scrap the whole thing? What if we build a brand new stadium? And they say, well, that's a good idea, but that's going to be about $3.5 billion. For crying out loud, Meatloaf, the 9-acre parcel with 30,000 people in Vegas is about $2 billion. It makes me wistful for the days when we built a ballpark for $515 million on time and on budget. But you know what? Those days are like the days of the horse and carriage. Those days are done. Any sort of renovation to any field, you're looking at a cool bill right off the jump. So them mulling a $1.4 billion renovation, it's NGE, baby. It's not good enough, but it's the step. Do you remember when Arizona, the Diamondbacks, were having an issue with the Capitol in their ballpark, Chase Field? I don't know what it's called now. I think it's still Chase Field. It used to be called the Bob Bank One Ballpark. It's a great facility out Phoenix, right near the airport. Just perfect, right near Sky Harbor, downtown. It's fantastic. And they were arguing, threatening to relocate. And they were looking at other places in Arizona. They were saying, don't let us be like the Coyotes, who ended up leaving and becoming the having a moment here, Coca. What did the Coyotes do? Did they become the Seattle Kraken? Oh, the Utah Mammoth. Seattle Kraken were an expansion team. Remember when the Coyotes moved to Utah with Ryan Smith, that owner who now wants to bring baseball to Salt Lake City? Well, the Diamondbacks said, we don't want to be like that, do you? So therefore, we need a new ballpark, or you got to help us renovate. And the cost of the renovation, it's like hundreds and hundreds of millions. Why is Arizona going that way? Because A, they've got a lease, but B, they don't have the public support nor the ability to privately build a new ballpark. Because if they did, they would. The Texans are in a position where they've got to negotiate with the NFL to access money from the NFL Stadium Fund. They've got to negotiate with the public in both Houston and the state of Texas to figure out how to get money in for either a renovation or a new stadium. And you are cautioned, saying, here are the guardrails. Here's what we have. Here's what we don't have. But there is no owner around. Now, let me take that back. If you're an octogenarian owner and you feel like, yeah, I'm buying yellow bananas, and frankly, I feel like I'm going to croak any day now, and a new stadium is going to take, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. I'm not going to be around in 4 or 5 years. But the thing is, good renovations where you say, oh, we did that during the off season. We're starting now so our fans can see the Target Field renovations. We're going to make changes for your benefit. Give me a break. I don't know how it'll end with the Texans there, Coca, but I do have a feeling that in order for them to compete on the revenue side with their brothers in the NFL, they're going to need more than $1.4 billion in renovations. We'll wait to find out, but I appreciate the question, and thanks for listening in Houston, Texas. Give me another one, please, Coca.
Hello, David. Welcome back. I missed you on Monday. My name is Christine, and I'm calling from upstate New York, just outside of Cooperstown. Side note, you really should bring your live show to this area of the country. I don't know if you saw the Batboy for the Quad City River Bandits get ejected over the weekend for disagreeing with a call while delivering balls to the umpire after both the catcher and manager had been ejected for arguing the call. That leads me to my question of the auxiliary personnel like Batboys and their loyalties versus jobs. I believe they work for the home team, but since they are also in the opposing team dugout, are they privy to conversation strategies and chatter? Are they a source for their team, or do they have the obligation to do their job and ignore anything they may see or hear? Thank you for your time, and shout out to Coca for the Binghamton Rumble Ponies mentioned a few weeks ago. Love the show.
Well, thank you for that. Coca, I have no recollection of you mentioning the Binghamton Rumble Ponies. Was that on a Friday? Was that in my ear? Was that while I was sleeping with Sandra Bullock? Well, that came out wrong. 4-8-69. That's a movie while you were sleeping? No? Okay, let me just move on. Thank you for that question. What a great one. First of all, we don't refer to ball boys. Now I think they may be ball people because there are ball girls as well. Well, there's ball girls, ball boys. There are clubhouse attendants. You've got a clubhouse manager. That's the person in charge of the business of the clubhouse, and it's a really big business. It's like a city there. You've got deliveries made every day. You've got employees. It's a whole economy down in the clubhouse, believe me. Then you've got the clubhouse attendants who work for the clubhouse manager. Those attendants are the ones who, they do the laundry, they clean the shoes, they clean the jocks, they get the uniforms all ready to go. They set up the lockers, the clubhouse. They're the ones who stay very late when a team comes in after a night game and they're playing the next day. All the equipment goes to the park right when the plane lands, even at 2 a.m. And all the clubbies have to be at the ballpark at 2 a.m. unloading all of the duffel bags from the luggage truck, the equipment truck, and then setting up the clubhouse with the nameplates and with all of the uniforms of the opposing players or the home team if the home team comes home late. So these clubhouse attendants, the hours are horrid, but the cash tips are GOOD, but they're not known as auxiliary employees. Some of them are not employees at all. Some of them are paid directly by the clubhouse manager. Some of them are part-time employees. Some of them are full-time employees, but very few. You then bring up, are they a source? That's a great one. Because here's the thing about clubhouses. It's more Fight Club than Fight Club. The amount of stuff that goes on in a clubhouse would make the hair on the back of your neck that you haven't shaved in so long because you're growing your hair out for whatever reason. They would stand, boop, straight out like a flagpole. It's every day. Literally every day something goes on that someone on the outside would want to know about, and Batboys hear all about it. Now, you're just saying, but wait a minute. Are they listening in on the hit and run strategy on whether or not what the signs are? Hey, forehead, nose, ear, ear. The first nose is the indicator. When you hit the ear the second time, it's the third sign after you tap the chin, and that means steal a base. No. They know that. They hear it. But that's not the real juice. The strategy, the papers that have all the analytics, they have access to all of it. The real juice is who's doing what, when, where, with who, and what's eating who, and how they're eating how many burgers. And who's being called up, who's being traded. Remember, every time we traded a player, the clubby was like the second person to know after the traveling secretary. Always after the owner, of course. But the traveling secretary, hey, get flights for the new guy. Clubhouse, make a new locker, make a new uniform, set it up. So they do have access to all sorts of stuff. However, they've got certain rules. So, for example, rule number 1, don't throw balls in the stands. Oh, David, you're the biggest Grinch of all time. You cheapskate. Why would you not throw a ball in the stands? It's because of you. Not you, the caller. I appreciate you calling. It's all the people who sued when they get hit by a ball that's thrown in the stands. Oh, I didn't see it. Oh, I got a shiner, and it had nothing to do with the bar I went to last night. Give me 10 grand. Yeah, here's your 10 grand. You just screwed it up for the other 17 people who go to games. Now they've got to wait for an actual foul ball to hit the seats. Clank. So they've got a bunch of rules. In addition to not throwing balls in the stands, there's another rule. The rule is when you're on the field, you wear a helmet. That's a rule. Here's another one. When you're on the field, you're not talking to anyone. Hard stop. Try not to field the ball and play if you can help it. Try when the umpire asks you for balls that you're ready to go and that you have the balls ready to go. They're all rubbed up in dirt. You go. When the umpire puts a 3 out, you bring 3. When the umpire puts 4, bring 4. Don't bring 6. Don't bring 2. Pay attention. Make sure you go in between pitches. Make sure you go when asked before the hitter's ready to hit. There's a pitch clock now. And for crying out loud, Meatloaf, do not under any scenario ever argue with an umpire. Do you know that there are clubhouse attendants in the umpire's room? And the clubhouse attendant, who's the visiting clubhouse manager, shout out to you, Rock, is the one who takes care of the umpire's room. And the clubhouse attendants on the visitor's side also take care of the umpire's laundry, food, etc. I don't remember a scenario in my career. Now, I remember firing ball boys, of course. There was just an anniversary of the Milk Boy. But I don't remember one time that a ball boy got thrown out of a game. I was just thinking about it with this question. I'm going to say 0 times. 0 times for that. We fired them or took them off the line, down the line when they weren't paying attention. They didn't move their chair fast enough. They played a ball that they thought was foul, that was fair. They threw a ball into the stand that was fair. Those sorts of things. But arguing with the ump, that is unacceptable. That guy will be out of a job for 17 minutes. I do appreciate your question and that you listen. All right, Coca, let's keep going.
Hi, David. This is Brady out in Arkansas, and I had a question that you've probably gone over a bunch of times, but I've only been a listener for about 2 years, period. It'd be really helpful if you could go into a comprehensive explanation about arbitration in baseball and how that differs from your rookie deal, how that differs from your free agent deal, and then maybe a little bit more on how you manipulate that. I really love the show. Hope you're doing well. Bye-bye.
It's really awesome, Coca, when someone just says, hey, it's 2 years. Think about that. 2 years listening every day. Thank you. We're going to keep going. So I've done some previous shows that are now in multiple languages and searchable, though I don't know how you would do that. Although all episodes are somewhere on our YouTube channel, Nothing Personal with David Samson. But let me just give you a couple minutes here, just so you have a working knowledge of arbitration, rookie deals, free agency. All players, when they are either drafted under what's called the Rule 4 draft, which is literally Rule 4 of the baseball rules, which is how players go from college or high school to a big league organization. When you are added to the roster, and for purposes of list, let's not talk 40-man roster or 26-man roster. Just believe me when I say, when you are added to the roster, you are the property of that team for 6 years. The first 3 years that you're in the big leagues, the team gets to decide what they pay you unilaterally. The player doesn't have to agree, but the player doesn't have a say. The only rule is you have to pay the player at least the minimum that is required in the collective bargaining agreement. Let's say $760,000. Once you've achieved 3 years in the big leagues, now there's some example of 20% of the players who are 2 years plus, but for purposes of this conversation, assume 3 years. Once you're in the league 3 years, then your salary is determined by an arbitrator. You can negotiate with the team can negotiate with the player, but if they can't agree on what your salary is, which can be anything from the minimum to infinity, then an arbitrator will decide your salary, and that arbitrator's decision is final. It's binding. You cannot appeal it under any scenario ever. But if you negotiate to get paid infinity, you're allowed infinity. Then, when you've been in the big leagues for 6 years, you have hit mana. You're a free agent. It means you no longer have to stay in the organization where you are. You get to sign with any organization you want. Now, when you're part of an organization in the first 5 years, you can leave baseball and go into the clergy. You can go into basketball. You can leave, but you're still the property of that team. But after 6 years, you can sign with any team in Major League Baseball you want. And do you know what you get paid? Anything you want, from the minimum to infinity. So what's the big difference when you attain free agency is that your number of suitors goes from 1 to 30. That is a huge difference for every player because obviously with more supply, in theory, there's an opportunity for more demand. In theory, there's an opportunity for price inflation, for wage inflation, and there's an opportunity for you to make more. Now, what comes with making more money, as you would imagine, making less money. Because in free agency, there's people who think they're going to get paid a whole lot, and they end up getting paid a whole lot of nothing. That's part of the bargain. When you get freedom, that freedom can strangle you. You want to know why we would manipulate service time? Because when we're the only team negotiating with you, we have a way bigger advantage. We don't want you to get to free agency. That means, by definition, we're competing against our 29 partners. So we're going to manipulate service time as much as we can to stop any player from going anywhere. Why would we ever do that? Well, we'd look right at the player and we'd simply say, hey, it's just business. Please stay with us. This is nothing personal.